My feeling about culture, particularly in startup culture, when companies start, is that your company's culture tends to be an extension of your founder's habits. If you're a two-person startup and you're the founders, and every Friday you go out for margaritas and Mexican food, that as you hire more people, and then all of a sudden you have 3 people and 5 people, and then you got 10 people all going out for margaritas and Mexican food, then you're starting to build your culture. Like, your culture is, we hang out together. And when you scale to 50 people, if that stops, then the original 10 are like, man, this place sucks. Like, this place is changing big time. So a lot of it is just keeping what you like to do and the work habits that you like to have, and that starts to build how people work. But it also has to do with a lot of flexibility with, as you bring more people in, allowing their habits and their interests to shape what the company is. So if you bring in somebody who is really passionate about music and they have a great music collection and you don't have a great way to play music, then supporting that would be to buy a sound system and let them play their music, and then all of a sudden music starts to become a part of the culture. And it's really just, that the aggregate of, everyone's, ideal working scenario is what the culture of the company is. And what ends up happening is, a lot of times you'll see big companies that, have 1,000 people and a ton of offices, and they realize that their culture is really, why the movie Office Space was created. And it's very difficult to work backwards and be like, oh, okay, well, now we're just going to go out for margaritas on Friday, because you're probably going to have to go out for margaritas for 2 years for people to not be totally freaked out that they're having margaritas with the CEO.
I think the best way to maintain your culture, so as you scale from 5 people to 100 people, the best way to maintain culture is to hire under people, not over people. So if you hire under people, you have a very high likelihood of maintaining your culture, because people always look up to see how those people act. But if you hire over people, your culture will basically for sure change. If you hire a CEO, your culture is definitely going to change. Maybe for the better, maybe for the worse, but it will change for sure. So if you like your culture and you don't want to change it, you need to grow your leaders so you can hire under them and not over them.
Yeah, well, I think, we talked already that culture is really comes from the people that started initially. That's, all the people that are involved with it. And as you bring more and more people on, the culture starts coming from everybody rather than the people from the beginning. And so, as the company gets larger, you have less direct control over the culture than you did initially. And so I think it's, you have to be careful that if you start seeing it going in a direction you don't like, you don't have that much time to stop it before it becomes unrecoverable. And so I think that means, it goes back to basics, being really careful who you hire. And if you hire someone that, for whatever reason, isn't really fitting with the culture or is moving the culture in a direction that you're really nervous about, you've got to take action and fix it, because it only takes a couple people to destroy a culture that, you really built and were really proud of.
The one thing I'd add to that is just everybody I'll bet in this room has something that's gnawing at them right now about what's going on in their company or in their culture. And you're like, should I bring it up? Or should I not bring it up? And sometimes you're like, I'm just going to let it go. I'm sure it'll self-correct. And then you find out something happened and it didn't self-correct, but actually it exhibited itself in some really bad way. And then you're like, crap, I should have done something about that before, right? So whether it be about culture, like I mentioned, that empathy thing, right? Like, I started feeling it. I was like, better do something about this one, right? And then just went in and swooped in and talked to everybody and fixed it. So this is like the reminder, because I need to remind myself a lot of this too. Like, if you've got something that's gnawing away at you, it's not just going to fix itself usually, right? You got to sweep in and make sure you get it fixed.
But one small thing I think you can do is try to have as few rules as possible. So a good thing would be, like, when people travel, I think it's really bad to have an expense policy or something like that. So if you trust your people, just say spend the money as if you would spend your own money. And just don't hire Bill Gates' kid or something. You should have, things like HR policies are fairly obvious. You should treat people with respect, and you should be nice to people. You shouldn't harass people. I don't think you need to have someone go through a 3-day training to do that. And as your company starts to get bigger, you'll start to see some pressure to move in that direction. Like, we can't serve beer in our company because, there's some underage interns or something. And you need to fight that, you need to fight the lawyer, essentially, in that exists as the company gets bigger, and really encourage more creativity.
So, and for me, there's two quick things. One, I completely agree about the kind of be human type policies. Like, our actual PTO policy at SimpleGeo is don't be an asshole. It's for real. Like, that's literally the policy. It's, if you have work to do, do it. If you have your work done and you can afford to take 2 weeks off and it's not really going to affect anything, go. Like, it's just think about everyone else and don't be a jerk about it. And the last thing is, I agree with you as well. Culture is something that has to be driven at all times. It's not just something you're going to like put on the road, put the brick on the gas pedal and just hope that it keeps a straight line. And you look at a company like Zappos, and there's people whose job it is to drive the culture because, Tony and whoever can't do it anymore because they have other things to do. So it's, it's important to realize that whatever you start out doing, you can't just like let it do its own thing, because if you don't drive the culture, somebody else will.